Welcome back to Hank Strange, Lifestyles of the Locked and Loaded.
Somebody get this man a movie deal. That is my good friend Hank Strange, a filmmaker I met at SHOT Show. Well, actually, I've known you a lot longer. No, we didn't meet at SHOT Show. Was it SHOT Show?
I think we've known each other for like 3-4 years.
No, we met, but I know we met in person for the first time at SHOT Show.
Yeah, exactly. I've always been a fan of you since you like 20 years now.
Has it been 20 years?
No.
You know me. I went to law school to get away from numbers. I don't do numbers, so I thought I was a year older than I was for an entire year. So,
wow,
that should tell you something. Yeah, my mom was like, "Son, you're not that old," but you learn the hard way.
Just spiritually.
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't be in a rush. It's not fun.
I'm not rushing. Trust me. I'm past the point of rushing, man. I'm trying to reverse and go back into time if I could.
Yeah. When you get to like 45 like me, you start going, wow, I made it to 45? The statistics with people like me is supposed to be like 25.
Well, I'll duly noted. I'll keep that in mind and think back when I hit 45, what Hank Strange told me.
Yeah. So,
man, talk to me about the lifestyle of the Locked and Loaded.
Basically, that's just me. I didn't do law enforcement, or I was never in the military. I'm really just an artist, like you said, a filmmaker, storyteller. So lifestyles in the Locked and Loaded we came up with because that's, one of my passions, right? Yeah. Shooting guns. So I do whatever I do, I put it on there, not just shooting guns, but mostly.
Yeah. Where did the passion start from you?
For me, I think I've had that since I was a little kid.
Really?
I was born in Guyana and in South America. That's a place where you're really not supposed to have guns unless you're in the military and the government somehow.
Yeah.
But my dad was an engineer, and we traveled all over the place. And I just remember that was the thing. I was always into guns. He always had like Popular Science and Popular Mechanics magazines around, and we made guns out of Legos and all that kind of stuff, our hands or whatever. So
you were playing cops and robbers going pew, pew, pew.
Yeah, exactly. And then eventually we came to America, and I grew up in New York City. And even people don't know this, but there's lots of guns in New York City.
Man, dude, I'm not gonna lie to you. I have this perception that there aren't that many guns in New York City.
Oh, no, there's a lot of guns. You can get anything.
It's funny.
It's not.
Go ahead.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Well, it's not like in the movies. If you look at the movies or TV shows, it seems like you can get any gun for $200.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's a big multiple of whatever that gun really costs, but you can get pretty much anything.
I mean, it was funny you say that. We had Tyson Beckford on the show at one time, and he said the same thing as he was sitting on the hood of his Jeep. I mean, he basically said, He's like, I can go and buy an RPG right now if I wanted to. I was like, I don't know about that, but I mean, nonetheless, probably.
Probably. you probably could in New York. I mean, people don't really believe that. I saw that show, and he was dead on, man. Yeah. That's the truth of New York City. You can get whatever you want. You just cannot be a law-abiding person and do very much. My younger brother still lives there, and he got a permit to get a rifle, and that was pretty tough. Mm-hmm. And you can only have 5 rounds and all kinds of.
Are you serious?
Regulations. Yeah.
You can only have 5 rounds for the rifle?
Yeah, you can. No, you can. It can only be a 5-round magazine. And, there's all these kinds of things that go on.
Yeah, there was always that I always use New York as an example of the deteriorating component of magazine capacity, because people always say, "Who needs 30 rounds?" And I'm like, and my rebuttal was always, well, okay, so you're going to arbitrarily set the number of rounds to 10. What's going to stop you from setting that number to 5 when you realize it doesn't do anything? And what's going to stop you from setting it to 3 after something else happens and that didn't do anything? And they did that in New York. They started with 10 and then they tried to go to 7.
Yeah, and then I think they had some problems because even for the police officers, they were basically violating the law. which is like arrest yourself. You know
what I mean? It's crazy because it's like, and I always say this, I'm like, if you understand it conceptually from a cop standpoint, you understand why a cop would want a certain gun, why a cop would want a certain as many rounds as he possibly can hold. Why does that make it any different from somebody like me? At least the cop knows what he's getting into when he gets called, or at least has some idea of what he's getting into when he gets called. The moment I'm going to need my firearm, I'm going to be caught off guard for all intents and purposes. So I want to be as prepared as possible to deal with whatever it is I need to deal with. So why
Right.
are you going to put me at a disadvantage when I'm the law-abiding citizen, and you're making it harder for me?
Absolutely. I totally 100% agree with you. I just spent the whole day training with my local sheriff's department. And yeah, man, they want as much lead as they could throw at you
Can you
if
blame
things
them
go
though?
sideways. Huh?
Can you blame them?
No, absolutely not. As long as they're not throwing it at me, but
I mean,
we're
clearly,
on good terms. So
Captain Obvious.
yeah. But I mean, I think, and lots of cops out there empathize with what we're saying. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, first of all, I think a lot of people forget that they are actually citizens that are serving us.
Yep.
And then they go out there and they have to live in the real world as well, and they understand exactly where we're coming from. And a lot of the things that we feel, they feel it as well, believe it or not.
What's funny is, like I said, I hadn't always had this mindset. I know growing up, I looked at cops the same way. I looked at cops as almost kind of like the superheroes, in the sense of they're not even regular people. Ironically, when I first got into guns, the second person I went shooting with was a friend of mine who was a cop. 2 months later, I remember I was sitting down and I was talking with him, because a lot of people have this idea that cops are just these huge gun fanatics, or that they just, they have an unlimited amount of guns. I remember when I was when I was talking with my friend about 3 months after I got into firearms, and we were talking about guns and the guns that I had and the guns that I recently acquired and the guns that he had. He was like, "Dude, you have literally 2 to 3 times as many guns as I do." And he's like, "And I taught you how to shoot the reset." And he's like, because he was the first person to talk to me about the reset on a Glock. And,
okay.
And that's when reality kicked in, and then I realized, no, these are regular people. Even though he was my friend, it took that for me to understand that these cops, like you said, are citizens who go out and perform a duty and a job. They're no different from you and I in that sense. So it's really interesting to see how people's perception of cops, and this kind of this distinction that they have for them on some, like, they're not even really human beings. They're just this foreign entity that exists in another realm of reality, and that's not necessarily the case.
No, it is sometimes. They are heroes. They do things that we don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we have to remember. These are guys who take on a job that doesn't pay them a lot, and then they go out there and they definitely risk their lives. We maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every day that they go out there, they risk their lives, and they do some pretty heroic things. But at the end, it's kind of like, not like the old school comics. It's like the newer comics. These are actual human beings, and sometimes they have a bad day, just like we do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk about guns across the border. What is that?
Guns across the border. That's have you ever heard of Mike Deddy?
Yeah, I know what it is. I'm just forcing you to explain it for people who don't know.
That's right. That's a project that I'm working on, and Mike Deddy wrote the book. He is an FFL and a gun writer in Arizona, and he was at a gun show, and then he was approached by people that were basically wanted to buy guns from him and take them across the border to Mexico.
Gotcha.
So he immediately reported that to the ATF, and then started working with the ATF to, track these guys. And he wore, he didn't really wear a wire, but he recorded what was going on and all that stuff. And then wound up getting, he was trying to do the right thing. Yeah. And he wound up getting stabbed up in the back by the ATF when that whole, gun walking scandal broke.
We're talking about Fast and Furious, right?
Yeah, Fast and Furious. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So.
Okay.
When the reporters were investigating that, he was one of the guys that helped out to prove that this was like a real thing that was going on, and it wasn't just one incident.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So right now you're in the process of turning that book into a movie.
Yeah, into a
documentary. Sorry.
Yeah. So I went out to Arizona. I'd like to go back. I'm trying to put together a trailer for it, actually, so that we could, get some funding together. It's not easy to do this kind of stuff.
I can only imagine.
Right. So we're trying to put something together there. I think it's a really interesting story. And, we're talking about a guy that was a Marine and, a really good guy, and he wanted to do the right thing. They didn't have, usually they have something against you, some kind of leverage. You're a bad guy. But this was like a real, genuine, good guy that wanted to help his country. And it really messed him up, the stuff that happened, because basically they allowed, thousands of guns to go across the border.
I didn't realize it was that many. Like I
Yeah,
thought it was a few hundred.
I mean, from him alone, we're from what I remember from the book,
Yeah.
we're approaching that number.
Jesus.
So yeah,
How's he doing now?
he's doing good. Amazingly, like he actually had these like Mexican cartel guys come into his house. You know, that's like the scary thing that I think in my mind.
I'm from Houston, Southwest. I don't even touch Mexican card like that. That's just a whole nother level of just. So yeah, I understand what you're getting at.
So he had these dudes come into his house, and when I was doing the documentary, I went and stayed with him in his house. He's still living in the same place.
Wow.
You know, but I really wouldn't want to mess with him. Yeah, he's got serious. This guy's a real scrapper, man. Like I said, Marine guy. He's got guns all over the house and stuff like that. I felt really safe when I was there. He's got a really nice place, but yeah, I think it's something that people will find interesting out there.
Okay, so we got about a minute left. So tell us what's next for Hank Strange after the documentary. Besides the documentary,
I'm looking to see what's next for me too, man. I'm always looking for the future of this thing that we're doing.
Gotcha.
When I saw you, we were trying out like 360. Remember that?
Yep. I saw some of that footage.
Yeah, you're actually in one of the 360 videos, man.
I watched it. I mean, for a second I was watching you, and then I realized it was 360. So then I had to do this, and
you
didn't see myself.
Around.
Yeah,
yeah. People thought it was really funny watching guys like yourself. You're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I'm always looking for the next thing like that. That's what I'm trying to do. There's a lot of next things out there, like what we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
Right. So.
Absolutely. Well, man, it was good talking to you, man. As always. How's the wife? How's the wife before we go?
She's good. Lola's good,
Okay. All right.
I know you had to get that in, otherwise she'll smack me in the back of the head.
Yeah. Because as much as I love her, I fear her.
Yeah. Oh, me and you both. Yeah.
Absolutely.
She likes that.
well, appreciate it, man.
Good seeing you.
Absolutely.
Same here, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Man, don't be a stranger.
And I'm waiting for that call that you're running for president.
Man, chill.
So take my time off and everything so I can help you out with the campaign.
All right, man. Don't wait too long.
Yeah, okay.
Take it easy, man.
All right, brother.
All right.
Peace out.
And we'll be back after this quick break.